If you're a custodial supervisor at a local high school, you know that cleanliness is key, and that the best place to get cleaning supplies is from Grainger. Grainger helps you stay fully stocked on the products you trust, from paper towels and disinfectants to floor scrubbers. Plus, you can rely on Grainger for easy reordering, so you never run out of what you need. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
My name's Adele Onyango, and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Hey you, welcome to this episode of Legally Clueless, and this is what's coming up.
And there were people, believe it or not, that came up with stories. Do you know people come up with stories when you lose someone? They were like, oh, no, she must have sacrificed him. And I'm like, it's my mother. This woman has gone through hell to even get us to this point. Why would she sacrifice her only son? And other people were like, oh, he was in Alliance High School. They have Illuminati in that school, so they took him. There were so many wild stories. And I remember there's someone who just came and told me, Audrey, maybe your brother was in a cult. He's a boy. Maybe he went to school and he wanted money and he got into a cult. Being the firstborn child, of course, I had to speak at my brother's funeral, which is the first time that people actually realized my mother still had kids, in a very, very twisted way.
That is from part 3 of Audrey's story, which is the final part. If you've not listened to part 1 and part 2, go to the last 2 episodes so that you're not floating. But yeah, this is the final part. It's coming up in a bit. But first and foremost, welcome to the fam. If you're new here, this is Legally Clueless, a show from Legally Clueless Africa. This is where we tell powerful African stories. But beyond this podcast, we also have more shows. On Wednesdays, we have the Midweek Teas. And on Thursdays, we have For Mannerless Women. I think the name is very self-explanatory. And on Fridays, we have a seasonal show called Ask a Therapist. Make sure you also sign up for our newsletter. It goes out every single Wednesday. It's my personal note to you every week to help you along your healing journey. And you can sign up for it via our website, legallycluelessafrica.com. A link to it is in the show notes. Also in the show notes is where you can find us on TikTok and Instagram. So make sure you join our social media family as well. Now, before we get into today's story, I want to share something that's very important for me, and I think it should be important to you as well. We are holding our final 3-part group therapy of the year. Of course, we're doing this in partnership with Shamiri Health. Clearly, we're all about your healing here. The theme this time around is childhood trauma, and we're going to be unpacking how trauma shows up in adulthood, how it shapes our relationships, so our intimate relationships, our friendships, even, which not many people talk about, how does childhood trauma affect how you relate with others at work? That part, right? And we're also going to be looking at what are the gentle ways that we can begin healing those wounds. I like that we're doing this nice and early before Christmas time. So in case you do spend Christmas with your family, if there's anyone there who triggers you, you'll be better equipped to actually enjoy your holidays with your family. It's being led by 3 accredited psychologists. I'm really big on, if you are talking about mental health and mental wellness, can we please get people who have studied to be able to help us so that it's really impactful, right? And it's going to be running on October the 11th, November the 8th, and December the 6th. Tickets are 4,500 bob, and that covers all of the 3 sessions. It covers your snacks and refreshments for all 3 sessions. It covers resources that we're going to print out and give you to go home with. And honestly, if you've ever wanted to understand yourself more deeply or begin healing some of those patterns that you're like, yo, this is really holding me back, this space is for you. You do not have to do it alone. It's really powerful to heal within a community. All the details and the ticket link are in the show notes, so make sure you grab your ticket ASAP because it's group therapy. It's not a concert, meaning they're very, very limited slots. And shout out to everybody who's already booked their slots already. I can't wait to meet you. Now, let's get into this episode story, the final part of Audrey's story, right? So over the past 2 episodes, we've journeyed with Audrey. In part 1, she shared about her childhood, the joy, the cracks in her parents' marriage, and the loneliness of separation. In part 2, she very bravely opened up about the sudden loss of her brother Warren and the silence that siblings often sit with when a family is grieving. And in this final part, Audrey shares how she navigated life after loss, right? So the pain that comes with the burial, the anger as well, and so much more.
100 African stories on Legally Clueless. Stories from Africa.
And we went to the morgue, and this guy was like, we were like, hi, we are here to see Warren. And it's like, come. And he goes there and he pulls this fridge, and my brother is wearing his hood. They didn't take it off. So it's like he's sleeping. Literally, he's wearing his jeans and that hood the same way he left home that morning. And I'm just looking, I think I was just standing there staring at him for a minute, and I told my sister, it's him. It's like I was just confirming what I already knew. I was like, sis, it's him. And that guy was like, are you guys okay? And I'm like, yeah. And he pushes back that refrigerator. So I think the moment I saw my brother in that fridge, it sank in now. Because now I was from performing and, telling people and just doing all these crazy things to avoid my real grief. But now seeing him in that position, it was hard. It was really, really hard. You cannot unsee that. You cannot unsee someone in a refrigerator. And it wasn't like the normal visiting areas where they take someone and put them on a stretcher for you. It was literally, and this guy, morticians, they've interacted with death so much, so it doesn't bother them. But for me, having this person pull this thing and show me my only brother lying in there, it was terrible. I remember my mom is pregnant. She almost lost that because you're in pain, you're in grief, it's crying every single time. And now I made it my job to be watching my mom. Like if I see her crying, I go there to start saying something to distract her. I am not grieving. I'm ensuring everyone else is not, is like my mother is okay. She almost lost that. Another thing that I noticed during that period is that people really diminished my sister and I. It was like they were telling my mother, we are very sorry for your loss. You will just get another child. But I'm like, my mother has children. Why are you guys saying she will get another child? And no one knew she was pregnant by then. It's basically me. But it was like they were saying, you've lost your son. Girls. These are girls, so God is going to give you another child. And that was it was so sad because you're making my mother feels like she has lost everything. Yes, she has lost everything. But she has 2 daughters who are here, who are alive, who also need someone to tell them everything is going to be okay, who needs someone to confirm to them it is not the end of the world. But now you're making my mother feel like, yo, don't worry, God is going to give you children. And it's like me and my sister, we are not children. She's left with nothing. That is the thing that I got from that entire period. And there were people, believe it or not, that came up with stories. Do you know people come up with stories when you lose someone? They were like, oh, no, she must have sacrificed him. I heard that. And I'm like, it's my mother. This woman has gone through hell to even get us to this point. Why would she sacrifice her only son? And other people were like, oh, he was in Alliance High School. They have Illuminati in that school. So they took him. There were so many wild stories that was so wild. I remember, and I remember there's someone who just came and told me, Audrey, maybe your brother was in a cult. He's a boy, maybe he went to school and he wanted money and he got into a cult. And in that moment, I'm like, what are you saying? This is a child. This was my brother, someone I played with. I mean, people are so insensitive in such moments, because why are you saying that? And why are you saying it to another child? I mean, why are you talking about all these things? Someone has lost their loved one. And then there were some people that made it like a mockery kind of thing, like, oh, she was so proud. She thought she had reached there, the way they say. And they're like, now she has nothing. She's back to square one. Like, they were making it look like my mother was proud that her son is in Alliance High School. Who is not proud your son is in Alliance High School? But they're making it look like she was seeing herself, in direct translation. And it was just sad. It is sad that you're going through something terrible, and instead of people coming together to like console you, they come up with stories and they run wild with these stories, and everything is just like, oh, she did this, she did that. It was such a tragic thing. And everybody would come home and you'd say, he was hit by lightning or he was struck by lightning. They'll be like, wow, but that is not normal. I don't want to hear these things that you're saying that they're not normal. I've lost someone. I am sad. I am scared. Oh my God, I was scared. I was scared of going to bed. And when you hear about death on the news or on your neighbor's place, it's not hitting you like that. Once death come to your house, the anxiety of it, the fear. My mother would come home late. Every time my mother is running late, I know she's dead. I mean, the last time my brother was running late, he had died. I became this person that I would process. Every time my mother picked a call, I would look at her face. If it turns even an inch, I'm like, what has happened? Tell me who has died now. It just makes you so vigilant of everything, of every emotion, of every face that someone has, every call. I think the calls that were coming through moments after that.
You won't see the engineer that slams the Nissan Rogue's door 13,920 times. Or the corrosive chamber that simulates 15 years of life in 5 months. Or the Rogue heat-baked for over 300 combined hours. What you will see is a vehicle that can take punch after punch and keep rolling. Nissan, #1 in new vehicle quality among mainstream brands by J.D. Power. We put it through the worst, so you get its best. For J.D. Power 2025 U.S. Initial Quality Study Award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Awards based on 2025 model year. Newer models may be shown.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility, he knows keeping the line up and running is a top priority. That's why he chooses Grainger. Because when a drive belt gets damaged, Grainger makes it easy to find the exact specs for the replacement product he needs. And next day delivery helps ensure he'll have everything in place and running like clockwork. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I was just like, someone else is dead. Please don't tell me it's someone I love. Anyways, so after 15 days, now we go to the morgue to get my brother. Now I have to see him in the suit that he had told my mom he wanted, but now he's getting it in a whole different context. That was just a whole new level of breaking down. Because now he's in a suit the way I imagined he would be in a suit, but I didn't see it in this context. And they bring him home. I think they took him to where we used to live because of our neighbors before we'd go to our rural home, so that my neighbors could also see him, because, we were living in a small town. So we had like a community of people who knew him, his friends, our neighbors, the people that would send him to the shop. When you raise a child, your child is for the society. So people knew him. So it was just a great idea that, we take him there for viewing before we go home. So the following day, we took him home that same day. In our culture, someone goes home, they sleep in, and then the burial is the following day. So the following day, Alliance High School now bus comes home. I think that's a whole other level of grief. Because now these boys, they're here. They've come with their school bus. My mother was just going crazy now. I mean, it's enough that I've lost a son, but now we have a bus full of boys coming to our home, well dressed, looking like my brother, the same height. Like, we could not just take it, you know. And they came to our home with a bus, with their school bus. They made this poster thingy, like a big one for my bro. So they came with it, and they got out of their school bus with his metal box. So they were carrying it while they were marching. And I did not like that. Knowing that this school that meant so much to him, that was his life's dream. Everything my brother ever wanted was what he got, you know. Okay, I'm glad he got to experience that before he died, but why cut it short? So these boys came home. They alighted from their bus with my brother's box and all his belongings, because, well, they have to bring it home. And they're like a band. I remember they were marching, and I don't remember the things they were singing, but they were marching, carrying his box, doing all these things they do in their school. I never thought something would be worse than that. I think even in my life right now, I keep referencing to what I went through in that period. I cannot go. There's nothing worse that I can experience that would be worse than that. And they were marching and singing, and they brought his school box, and I remember opening it and just seeing like his dictionary, his clothes, his my brother had like the perfect handwriting. We used to say he writes like a girl, because it was like the best handwriting you've ever seen. They came with a condolence book, and all his classmates are writing these things. It was tough. It was absolutely tough. And my mom has to go. I think for me, I was just looking at it from my mother and my father's point of view. My brother was my father's best friend. They were inseparable. They would talk about cool things. I think my brother and my father, they were like, I don't know. I used to see them as my idols. They would speak about all these things, all these engineering things, just things that I felt were so cool. And I'm looking at my father, and it's just a shell of a man. It was just sitting there lost. My mother, the doctors are like, you need to watch your mourning and your grief, because you have a baby as well that you don't want to lose, because she almost lost that. So anyways, the boys came to school, to our home. They were looking so nice. And I think that's the worst part about it, because you just know your son is not going to be part of that again. And when those boys were given a chance to speak about my brother, and to have to hear them say these nice things about him, about how they knew him in ways that I didn't even know, it was even worse. The pain was double. The whole burial, I was just looking at those boys, and I'm like, I'm never going to see my brother again. And it hurt me so much that I had never gone to his school. Okay, we had plans. We were saying next year when you're in Form 3, we're going to come to visit you. We had plans. The thing with death is that it just takes your plans and throws it out the window. So you have to start with a new plan that involves this person not being there for the rest of your life. The boys from Alliance High School, they were looking so nice. They were so poised. They were so respectful. They were like, I was looking at the way they were walking in a marching. Like, it's like these people, they're from another world, They're so cool. The English they're speaking. I was looking at them, and I'm like, my brother was in the best school there is. And now he's never going back to that place. And his teachers, they're like, we're sorry for your loss. Oh my God. It was hectic. I didn't think my parents would go through that and come out of it. I thought my brother's death was going to take all of us. It was the saddest. And being the firstborn child, of course, I had to speak at my brother's funeral, which is the first time that people actually realized my mother still had kids, in a very very twisted way. The way they felt like, oh, that was our only boy. So what is she going to do? Our life is just over. And then now I was given a chance to speak, and I did speak. And I said all these things about my brother, how he was a wonderful boy, how he taught me how to do things. Okay, sometimes he made me not do things because I would not think for myself. I even joked saying that I used to not think for myself because he knows everything. So why would I think? If I'm worried about something, if my phone, sometimes I've even forgotten to just switch on my phone, but I'm like, this phone is not working. But he's there to tell me, yo, you've not switched it on. Like, it was just someone that was there to guide me. He was born after me, but I felt like I went to him for guidance. And so people are like, wow. So I realized after I spoken on that funeral, people now are coming to my mom that, don't worry, we've seen your daughter. She's very strong and she's very courageous. You still have someone. Now the tune has changed and everything. And I'm like, please, let my mother just grieve in peace. Do not make this thing about what it's not. And because my mother was pregnant and some of them caught wind of it, they were like, maybe God has a plan for you. Maybe you're going to have another boy and everything will just be fine. Please, nothing is ever going to be fine for our family. We've lost everything that we've ever had. After that time, after my brother was buried, I remember during that period, you see the way they do funeral procession at the graveside. So, in our family, we are Adventists, Seventh-day Adventists. I'm not, though, and I'll explain why. So, during that period, there's the pastor that does that. From earth we came, something of that sort. My church was supposed to do that. But apparently they said they would not because my brother wasn't consistently going to church. And in my head, I was like, this is a boy who was studying in Nairobi. Every time he comes home for half term, it's like a week. And then it's closing day. And sometimes he stays with my aunt. What do you mean? It is me that comes to church. It's my mother that comes to church. Why are we arguing on who is going to do this thing? And he's dead either way. And his physics teacher is the person who did that. He was also the chaplain of their school during that time. And for me, I was like, no. I'm going to tell you this straight. I know my parents are wondering why I'm not an Adventist. Maybe they get to hear it from me. That day, I was like, I can never relate with this church anymore. Because if you can leave my brother in such a state and stay and say we cannot do this because he wasn't coming to church, and yet I was coming to this church, you could not even do it for me he was alive. I cannot do this anymore. The day my brother was put in that hole, in that box, and that was being thrown on top of his coffin and everything, and flowers and everything, that's the day I was like, I'm never going back to this church again. And I told myself, I'm not running away from God, even though I had a million questions to God. My mother prayed every night with us. My mother raised us with such struggle. My father tried everything to pay our school fee. They were really, really trying to bring us up. Why would you let him die at this moment when everything was starting to make sense? My mother just has a job. My mother had worked for 2 months before my brother died. Literally, the salary that my brother enjoyed, the one that we were spending, was like 2 months to him dying. And in my head, I was like, God, explain this to me. Make me understand how you choose who dies and who doesn't. And then when I heard there were survivors, I'm like, wow, so you decided these people to survive, but this one does not. Like, make me understand. And I was just like, God, are you seated in heaven with popcorns, having a good time, smiling while my life is falling apart? I had so many questions. I mean, I was so angry at God, at the world, at every single person. And so I decided I'm not going to leave God, but I'm going to leave this church. So from there onwards, I left it. I was like, no. For who my brother was, I will stand by him. Because it didn't make sense that his physics teacher would do that. But he did it and it was okay. But they were supposed to be there for me, for my family, for us. Why would they say such a thing at such a moment? Yeah, so my brother got buried and these boys, they had to go back. It was just, I cannot bring that sadness right now the way it felt, but I feel it in my bones. The grief feels like someone is pinching you. You feel it in your bone. You feel it everywhere. It's everywhere. You can't eat. You can't sleep. I used to have dreams of my brother is back. All the time, my brother is back. But when I wake up in the morning, he's not back. He's gone. Apparently, someone dies, they're buried, people start going back to their places. Now you're remaining all by yourselves. And now you're left with their shoe by the corridor. You're left with their phone. There are mementos of them in the house that you're meeting. And you have to live with the fact that the owner of this shoe is no longer here. Literally, even the clothes on the wear line, you just know that shirt belongs to so-and-so, but so-and-so is not here because
You won't see the engineer that slams the Nissan Rogue's door 13,920 times. Or the corrosive chamber that simulates 15 years of life in 5 months. Or the Rogue heat-baked for over 300 combined hours. What you will see is a vehicle that can take punch after punch and keep rolling. Nissan, #1 in new vehicle quality among mainstream brands by J.D. Power. We put it through the worst, so you get its best. For J.D. Power 2025 U.S. Initial Quality Study Award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Awards based on 2025 model year. Newer models may be shown.
this death was abrupt. It's not something you saw coming. No one sees death coming. I know that. But this particular one is that this person woke up in the morning and did not come back in the evening. And you did not see it coming. And premonitions are, that's a lie. Because if I had known the feeling I had of like malaria, the one that I even took medicine for, then I could have warned my brother not to leave the house. If I'd known all these feelings that I had, the way I felt someone was watching me by the door, but you cannot associate that feeling with something happening. You cannot. So in 2015, 27th of December, he died, and then he was buried on the 16th of January 2016. Now my results were back. I was going to come to Nairobi for my university education. I don't feel like I had time to grieve, to be honest. My mother is here. She's pregnant. I need to watch her. Then my letter is here. I need to go to campus. So when I came to Nairobi, I was like, Audrey, don't ever go to Kikuyu town. Because Alliance is in Kikuyu. So I knew that. And I told myself I can never step Kikuyu town. I came up with a plan where I wasn't going to grieve or heal. I was going to avoid triggers. Because any boy, my brother's age, trigger. I see a boy coming, I go like this. Any person is in a school uniform, that's a trigger. I see coming, I pass the other way around. So I just found ways in which I was avoiding anything that could remind me of this person. I told myself I cannot. Every time there was news on TV and they say, Alliance, I switch it off immediately. I don't want to see anything. I don't want to read the word Alliance on anything. Even there's like Alliance driving school. There's so many words that come with Alliance. I don't know, Alliance group. I see Alliance, I switch it off. I see any person in a green sweater, I don't want to look. So after some time, I think you sit with your grief and you start to open up. For me, it did not happen when my brother died. That is one thing I just have to agree. I did not grieve it in that moment. I did it slowly because it's not linear. It's not a straight line that, this happens, you heal, you become better. The days like today that I still feel so sad about it, I will be okay again for a month and then I'll remember it, and it's just like it's going up and it's going down. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not. It's been 10 years, but that feeling, it's fresh, like it's happening right now. Like I can channel the anxiety, the fear, the everything. I can channel it right now. So I didn't want to go to Kikuyu for a very long time. So one day I'm in my house and I'm like, you need to go to Kikuyu because you're avoiding your triggers. And it's because of this podcast that I learned I even have trauma. I didn't even know I had trauma. In my mind, I was like, I did not think that. So listening to this podcast for a long time, I started realizing I have trauma. And I also learned from this podcast that the way to deal with your traumas is to face them. Not to you see it coming and you go the other way. You're not healing. You're avoiding triggers is not healing. It means the day you're faced with that trauma, you're going to fall either way. So this particular day, I tell myself, I think it was 2 years ago, I was like, Audrey, you need to go to Kikuyu town. You cannot avoid Kikuyu town. And I've been in this city from like 2016 when I came for campus, for my university education. So, I was just like, I don't know what will happen if I go to Kikuyu. By then, my heart was beating so fast. I was sure if I go to Kikuyu, I was going to die. I don't know. I just felt like the moment I step into Kikuyu town, I'm going to lose it. So anyway, I get into a matatu and I go to Kikuyu town because I go to Sitam Church. So there's a Sitam Church in Kikuyu. So I was like, you just go. So I go to church and everything is fine. Apparently, I don't even see Alliance High School by the road. The way I thought if I go to Kikuyu, Alliance will be staring at me on the face. So I don't see anything. But when I'm coming back from church, I notice there's a school bus in that town. And I tell myself, this school bus, it is for Alliance boys. I know it in my heart. So I start walking very fast. I'm telling myself, God, let me not see any boy from that school. Guess what? There are 2 boys in church. And I just come face to face with them. Do you know, I had like this hyperventilation, like I can't breathe. Literally, I'm anxious. I'm like trapped. It's like I was avoiding this thing and it's right on my face. So I make an about turn and I'm walking very fast. I'm like, I don't want to see them. I don't want to see them. I don't want to see them. So I was going back to take my matatu and go back home. That's when I'm crossing the road, this school bus is coming. And now I can feel it's coming behind me. You know, when a vehicle is coming behind you, and I know at some point it will pass me. And I don't want to read that. Just as basic as that. I don't want to read Alliance High School on that school bus. I know if I do, it's the end of me. That bus passed me, and I looked at those boys on that window, and just tears were coming down. But that was the first day after such a long time that I'd faced what I'd been so afraid of. I thought I was going to die, but of course I didn't die. Yes, I felt all these emotions. Yes, I was hyperventilating and I was trembling and I was shaking. But I felt like, wow, so it's actually doable. I can look at these boys and not go crazy. There's nothing wrong. I mean, I can actually survive this. And that was my first step to deciding I'm going to heal from. I can't heal from this, but I'm going to face this. I'm going to face this head on. I'm yet to go to Alliance High School, to be honest. It's in my plan. It's in my bucket list. I tell myself every day that one of these days, I will go up to that school just to see it from his eyes, because I've never seen it. I'm afraid of seeing it up close because I don't know how I'll feel about that. To know that I'm stepping on the ground he stepped on. To know that maybe I'm walking on a pavement that he walked on. So I'm not there yet. But it is a plan in my head that in this healing journey of mine, the way we had planned 10 years ago that I would go visit him, I will go visit that school. I don't know if they remember him, if there are records of him. I'm not sure. And I'm not sure if there's maybe an old boy listening to this podcast right now, because I would also want to meet someone that was in class with my brother, to just experience someone else who knew him in that setting of his school, of who he was as a boy in that school, his dreams from someone else's perspective, And I tell myself that I'll go there and I'll say hi to the principal of that school and I'll be like, tell me if you guys have a record of this boy, just so that I'm in that place that he was in. I feel like that, I'm not sure it's going to solve anything, but deep down in my mind, I've made it something that I need to do. I don't have a timeline on when I'm going to do it, but I just want to walk in there, feel the way he felt to be there, to see the place that he loved so much, to just be in a place that he was in, because I feel that will really unlock my healing and my just moving on from this. I cannot completely move on from it because it's going to be a part of me forever. Unfortunately, grief is the cost of love. Once you love someone, there's a possibility of losing them, and when you do that, you go through this again. But I would want to experience what made him so happy. Alliance made him so happy. And having, to see it get cut short, because he was going to be in Form 3 in 2017 now. No, in 2016. The boys that he was with would have finished their Form 4 in 2017, I would really, really love to just go there, to experience that, to just know he might have not finished school here, but he belonged with these boys. He bragged about their school. He said such wonderful things. I don't know, they call themselves the bush guys or whatever. It's not accurate from what I recall, but he would brag about their school, about the things they do, about what they eat, where they shower. That school meant everything for him. And I would just want to experience that. So my mother had a girl, not the way people expected, but she had a girl. That girl was the lifeline of our family, because now there was a baby at home. We had to focus on the baby. There's no time to mourn again. I mean, I have to make sure my mother's eaten, that the baby is taken care of. And she was like a rainbow, after this storm, after this terrible, terrible time. And then now we have a baby girl at home that we are caring for. Me and my sister, we were just all over her. It was like a distraction from all this that has happened. You have something else to focus on. And people are like, oh, oops, it's not a boy, but don't worry. God will bring a boy. You cannot believe that the society right now is not even that progressive. There's still that thing of, you don't have a boy. Well, you might as well not have a child, but they're not saying it loudly, but you can tell. So, I mean, we would have dreams of my brother say, I'm gonna come back, you guys, don't worry. And so, like 4 years ago, my mom had a boy.
You won't see the engineer that slams the Nissan Rogue's door 13,920 times. Or the corrosive chamber that simulates 15 years of life in 5 months. Or the Rogue heat-baked for over 300 combined hours. What you will see is a vehicle that can take punch after punch and keep rolling. Nissan, #1 in new vehicle quality among mainstream brands by J.D. Power. We put it through the worst, so you get its best. For J.D. Power 2025 U.S. Initial Quality Study Award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Awards based on 2025 model year. Newer models may be shown.
I know. It was like, I think my mom was like, I don't know, 42 when she had this other boy. And it was like a miracle, sort of. And I would think of the times I would dream of my brother saying, yo, I'm gonna be back. And then out of nowhere, my mom is pregnant again. It's biologically complicated a bit. I mean, it's not unheard of a woman to get pregnant at that age, but it was not something we were expecting. For her, she had already accepted that my only son is gone, but now we have another boy, and he's the exact copy of my brother. Like, they look the same, they laugh the same, they do things the same. It's just as cheeky as he was. And sometimes I'm like, is reincarnation a thing? I mean, sometimes I play with the idea of, could this be a reincarnation? There's so much resemblance. I mean, they're born of the same people, but you're like, if he said he was gonna come back, could it be that he is back? And so it makes me feel like one day I will have a chance to see my brother as a teenager, even though I didn't get a chance to see him. Well, I saw him as a teenager, but not much of it. That maybe life is giving me another chance to get to see him. Because the more this boy is growing, I'm like, this is the same person. And you can tell from his laughter, from the things he's doing, from how sharp he is. Like, bro, he knows so much even at a young age. And I'm like, I couldn't be more grateful to have this boy, because he has healed my mother in a way, not completely, but my mother has a reason to be happy again. Yes, she was fine with us. My mother is very progressive, very well educated, and she is not backward like the people that were making all these comments. She was like, have girls, fine. My girls can still do whatever you guys think my boy is gonna do. But having this boy has brought light and hope and all these things in our lives, and it's just a whole different thing now. And I cannot wait for him to grow, because I'm like, life is giving me a chance to experience what was yanked away from me. It's not going to happen right now. By the time he's like 15, how old will I be? It's a whole thing. But I cannot wait for that time to get to see him, to get to experience him. And there are moments that I'm worried that I'm forgetting my brother's voice, because I'm like, I sit in a room and I'm like, I want to channel his laughter, you know. And I feel so pissed off that that laughter is fading away, you know. People don't tell you that when you're grieving, you feel so guilty that what if in 20 years I cannot clearly remember this person's face? You know, there are pictures, yes, but you want that internal one, the one that your brain conjures. What if I get to a point where I cannot remember how it looked like? And my brother had like this toothy grin, like he would smile with his, and you could see all his teeth when he's smiling. And he had this laughter that I can channel it even right now and I can hear it. And I don't want to forget it. And having my brother and hearing him, if I hear him laugh and I can feel, yes, now that is his laugh, I'm like, wow, thank you. Thank you for coming back. I don't know how afterworld works. I don't know what happens when you die, but I'm always like, thank you for coming back. Thank you for coming back in whatever way you've come back. And thank you for being with me, because I know he's with me. I cannot explain it, but I know he's with me. So yeah, that is my story.
Catch more African stories in the next episode of Legally Clueless. That was the final part of Audrey's story. And if you want to connect with her, we put a link to her socials in the show notes. And her honesty and just the clarity she has on her story and her healing journey is so incredible to hear. Honestly, for the past 3 episodes, that's what has really stood out to me, man. She really just also reminded me how grief, man, it doesn't follow a straight line. You know, it rises, it falls, and sometimes even so many years later, it can feel so fresh. In fact, I was just watching a video by this UK artist who lost her father in 2020 and then last year lost her granddad. And she was talking about how, you know, people like to say that it gets better with time. I really don't think it does, especially like my journey with grieving my mom. So what this UK artist was saying is what she finds is there is more of like a longer gap in between the heavy triggering moments. They're not every day or every week. Now it's maybe 3 weeks apart or 1 month apart or 3 months apart. And I was like, actually, that's so true. But when they come, it doesn't come with a lesser intensity. It's still hella heavy, you know? And so Audrey's story, man, just affirmed my grief journey, and I can't thank her enough for that. It really made me start thinking about the ways in which grief changed me for the better or sometimes for the worse. Like one negative impact was people pleasing, as if I needed help. I was already an expert. And then grief came along and I just felt like I had to please everyone around me, because in my head I'm like, they're gonna die anytime, like anytime they're going to go. So even if they ask me to do something that I don't want to do, I'm gonna say yes, because they're gonna die anytime. You know what I mean? And that's I really had to snap out of that one with the help of my therapist. But also what I wanted to touch on, and maybe you can help with this, is she did talk about Warren's classmates having finished high school in the year 2017. We are a really huge family here. I'm pretty sure at least one of us knows somebody from Alliance Boys who graduated high school in 2017. And maybe we can help connect Audrey. Right. So if you do know someone, maybe what you can do is either DM us on social media. A member of my team can grab that, or you can send us an email. If you check out the show notes, I'll put an email there for you to reach out to us. Yeah, I think that would be really nice. Even if we connect Audrey with this person who was Warren's classmate and she's not ready yet, I mean, at least we've connected her, and when she's ready, however long it takes, that's still okay, you know? But yeah, Let's try and do that. Let's try and see if we can figure that out. If this story resonated with you and you connected with it, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast wherever you are listening to it on. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Links are in the show notes. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's also linked in the show notes. And if you'd like to share your own story, you can fill out the storyteller form. It's also linked in the show notes. Thank you for listening to this episode to the very end. And as always, I truly appreciate you. And I know you have everything it takes to heal. That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.